In a busy town, there was a small convenience store run by Mr. Thompson, the manager. Mr. Thompson was known for his strict ways and always kept a watchful eye on customers. He often suspected people were trying to steal, especially those who looked out of place. With his neatly combed hair and pressed shirt, he prided himself on running a tight ship, believing it was his duty to protect the store from theft. One chilly afternoon, as customers buzzed around the aisles, a man entered the store who caught everyone's attention. He wore tattered clothes that hung loosely on his thin frame. His hair was unkempt, and his shoes had seen better days. This man was Jack, a decorated veteran who had bravely served his country in difficult battles. Despite the medals he once earned with pride, life had not been kind to him since returning home. Jack walked through the aisles quietly, trying to blend in as he searched for something nutritious to eat. He felt a pang of sadness every time he glanced at the shelves filled with items he couldn't afford. Still, he held his head high, reminding himself of his service and sacrifice. As Mr. Thompson watched Jack from behind the counter, suspicion crept into his mind. The man's shabby appearance raised red flags for him, fueling an unwarranted belief that Jack might be up to no good. Little did Mr. Thompson know that beneath the surface lay a story of courage and hardship that would soon unfold before them all. The small convenience store bustled with energy on that chilly afternoon. Bright fluorescent lights illuminated the aisles, casting a warm glow on the colorful products lining the shelves. Customers moved about, chatting quietly as they picked up snacks, drinks, and everyday essentials. The sounds of rustling bags, beeping registers, and light-hearted laughter filled the air, creating a lively backdrop to the scene. However, beneath this cheerful atmosphere lay an undercurrent of tension. Mr. Thompson stood behind the counter, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk searching for prey. He was vigilant as he monitored each customer's movements, convinced that trouble was always lurking just around the corner. His presence added a layer of unease. Patrons exchanged glances, aware of his reputation for being overly suspicious. As Jack wandered through the aisles, he felt the weight of Mr. Thompson's gaze upon him. While other shoppers seemed carefree, he couldn't shake off the prickling sensation of being judged. The shelves seemed to loom taller as he searched for something to eat, something that would fill his stomach without emptying his pockets. Each item was a reminder of what he could no longer afford. The cheerful chatter around him faded into background noise as Jack focused on finding something simple and nutritious. Little did he know that the manager's watchful eyes were about to set off a chain reaction that would change everything in this small store on this seemingly ordinary day. The stage was set for an encounter that would reveal deeper truths hidden beneath appearances. As Jack stood in the snack aisle, his fingers brushed over the packages, searching for something affordable and filling. Suddenly, he sensed a shadow looming nearby. Turning, he found Mr. Thompson standing before him, arms crossed and eyes narrowed. The air felt charged with tension as customers nearby fell silent, their conversations abruptly halting. "Excuse me," Mr. Thompson said sharply, his voice cutting through the quiet like a knife. "What do you think you're doing here? Are you trying to steal something?" Jack's heart sank at the accusation, disbelief flooding his mind. "No, I'm just looking for some food," he replied softly, trying to maintain his composure. However, the manager's hostility made it difficult for him to speak. Nearby shoppers exchanged confused glances, mouths agape at the sudden confrontation. A woman with a shopping cart paused mid-step, her eyes widened in shock as she caught the tail end of Mr. Thompson's accusation. Another man lowered his phone, unable to believe what he was witnessing. People began to murmur amongst themselves, unsure how to react. "Really?" Mr. Thompson pressed on, his voice rising slightly and attracting more attention. "Look at you! That outfit screams trouble." The words hung heavily in the air, stinging Jack more than he could express. Feeling the heat of embarrassment wash over him, Jack stood frozen in place, wishing for a way out of this nightmare. The once busy store seemed to close in around him as whispers spread among shoppers about what they were seeing unfold before them, an unfair judgment of a man whose true story remained hidden from view. Jack took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotion swirling inside him. The accusation hung heavily in the air, making it hard for him to focus. He felt hurt and confused, not just by Mr. Thompson's words but by the weight of being misjudged in front of so many people. I'm not trying to steal anything," he stammered, his voice trembling slightly as he tried to explain. He pointed around the store, hoping to find understanding in someone's eyes. "I just need something to eat. I'm really struggling right now." Jack's heart raced, and he felt vulnerable under the scrutiny of the shoppers who were still lingering nearby, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disbelief. With slight hesitation, Jack reached down into his worn bag and revealed the medals tucked away inside. They sparkled faintly under the store lights, a testament to his service and sacrifice. "See? I served my country," he said, lifting the medals high enough for Mr. Thompson and onlookers to see. "These aren't just pieces of metal, they represent my life and the struggles I've faced." However, instead of softening, Mr. Thompson's expression remained stern. The manager didn't seem moved by Jack's display. In that moment, Jack felt even more alone, like a lion among sheep, a fierce warrior amid those who only saw the rags he wore. The murmurs from the crowd grew louder as they witnessed this poignant moment, and Jack's heart sank further as he realized that no one seemed to truly understand him. Jack's story began long before this fateful day in the convenience store. He had enlisted in the army right after high school, driven by a sense of duty and the desire to serve his country. Over the years, he faced unimaginable challenges on distant battlefields, where bravery was not just an option but a necessity. Jack fought alongside his comrades during intense missions, earning several medals for valor and dedication under fire. Each medal represented sacrifices made and friendships lost, marking moments that would forever change him. After returning home, however, Jack found it difficult to adjust to civilian life. The world had moved on while he was away, and he struggled to find his place in a society that seemed unfamiliar. Nightmares of past events haunted him, leaving him restless and searching for comfort that never came. Despite his heroic past, job opportunities were hard to come by, and he often faced discrimination because of lingering stigma around veterans suffering from unseen wounds. Financial hardship soon followed as bills piled up and savings dwindled. Proud yet weary, Jack found himself living on the streets after losing his apartment. He carried his few belongings in a tattered bag, his medals included, clinging to remnants of pride even as he faced judgment from others. Now here he was, standing in a store where he simply wanted something to eat, feeling the weight of misjudgment bearing down on him once again. Jack's heart ached not just for food but for understanding. He wished someone could see beyond the worn clothes and recognize the man who had once bravely served them all. The irony of being accused of theft stung deeply, especially for someone who had fought so hard to protect their freedoms. As Jack stood there, desperately trying to gain Mr. Thompson's understanding, the manager's stubbornness only intensified. Mr. Thompson's hardened gaze didn't waver, his mind was made up about Jack's intentions. Though Jack spoke earnestly about his need for food and showed his medals, Mr. Thompson chose to see only the shabby exterior and the threat he believed Jack posed. "No one deserves to be treated with such suspicion," murmured a nearby customer, but Mr. Thompson ignored the comment, focused solely on maintaining control over the situation. He continued to assert that Jack was just another troublemaker trying to take advantage of the store's trust. Instead of listening, he raised his voice, instinctively pushing others away from the truth of the matter. "Why should I believe you?" Mr. Thompson insisted, crossing his arms tighter over his chest as if guarding himself against any possibility that he could be wrong. The more Jack attempted to explain himself, the more entrenched the manager became in his biases, refusing to consider that someone who looked rough around the edges might actually be a good person with a genuine story. With each accusation and denial from Mr. Thompson, the crowd grew restless, caught in the middle of a confrontation that felt increasingly unjust. People around them began to shift uncomfortably, emotion swirling as they overheard bits of Jack's story, a man who had once defended their freedoms but was now being judged for his appearance. In that moment, Mr. Thompson's refusal to listen not only escalated tensions but also deepened Jack's sense of isolation, reinforcing a painful lesson. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought not on the battlefield but in the hearts and minds of those who fail to see beyond the surface. Amidst the rising tension in the store, a few customers began to step forward, unable to remain silent any longer. Sarah, a young mother with 2 children in tow, looked at Jack with empathy in her eyes. She had overheard his attempts to explain himself and felt compelled to act. "Excuse me, Mr. Thompson," she said gently but firmly, "I think you need to listen to him. He's not just some thief, he's a veteran who served our country." As Sarah spoke, others began to nod in agreement. A man named Carlos, an older gentleman who had seen his share of struggle and hardship, chimed in, "I used to be homeless myself. We can't judge someone by their appearance alone." His voice was steady, and it carried a weight of experience that resonated with those around him. More customers started to gather near Jack, their expression shifting from curiosity to support. A woman holding a coffee cup added softly, "We all have stories. I think we owe it to him to hear his." The murmurs of agreement built in volume as people exchanged sympathetic glances. Jack's heart swelled at the unexpected support from those who understood that appearances could be misleading. Their compassion provided him with a sense of hope amid the chaos he faced. As Mr. Thompson's stern facade showed signs of cracking under the pressure of communal empathy, Jack felt less alone. The crowd around them shifted from mere bystanders to advocates for justice and understanding, highlighting not only Jack's plight but also the larger issue of misjudgment based on looks alone. In this moment, the power of human connection shone through the darkness of prejudice, illustrating that kindness could rise even in the most unlikely circumstances. Just as the growing crowd of supporters began to voice their encouragement for Jack, a voice rang out from the back of the group. It was Mr. Harris, an elderly man who had quietly observed the entire scene unfold. He stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the medals Jack had displayed. "Wait a minute," he said, his tone shifting from passive observer to one of recognition. "I know those medals. I've seen them before," he continued, his voice steady but filled with reverence. "Those are the medals of a brave soldier who fought for us." The onlookers turned to each other, their expression shifting from disbelief to understanding as Mr. Harris's words sank in. "Yeah, my grandfather had those same medals," chimed in a teenage boy standing nearby. "He used to talk about the heroism required to earn them. This man deserves our respect." The atmosphere in the store began to change dramatically as more people rallied around Jack. The murmurs of support grew louder, spreading throughout the crowd like wildfire. "We shouldn't judge someone based on how they look," said Sarah, reinforcing the message with passion. "We owe him everything for his service." With each sentence of support, Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. For the first time that day, he saw not just sympathetic faces but gratitude reflected in their eyes. Mr. Thompson's expression faltered as he realized that he was being confronted by the collective voice of community compassion. As the crowd closed around Jack, it became clear that this moment marked a turning point, not only in Jack's struggle for acceptance but in highlighting how courage could shine through even in the darkest moments. The support he received transformed his shame into pride, reminding everyone present that true heroes often wear their battles on the inside. As the crowd continued to rally around Jack, Mr. Thompson stood frozen at the counter, a growing sense of unease washing over him. He had been so certain of his judgment, believing he was protecting his store from what he perceived as a threat. Yet now, confronted with the faces of loyal customers united in support of Jack, doubt crept into his mind. The moment Mr. Harris mentioned the medal's significance, it all clicked for Mr. Thompson. He remembered hearing about the brave veteran from the local news, a man who had risked everything for his country and later struggled to find his footing back home. Realizing that he had accused this honorable soldier without knowing his true story filled Mr. Thompson with an overwhelming wave of embarrassment. His chest tightened as the murmurs of support for Jack grew louder, underscoring how wrong he had been to leap to conclusions. Watching Jack's face, a mixture of vulnerability and newfound courage, made Mr. Thompson feel small and ashamed. Here was a man who had fought for others' freedom standing before him, yet he had treated him with disrespect. I'm sorry," Mr. Thompson finally managed to say, his voice softer now but trembling with sincerity. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward him, waiting for his next words. "I didn't know. I was wrong to jump to conclusions based on how he looked." In that moment, many customers felt a shift not only in the atmosphere but also in their own hearts. Mr. Thompson's admission of fault opened the door to understanding and healing, showing everyone present that real courage was not just found on the battlefield but in acknowledging one's mistakes and learning from them. Jack's expression softened as he sensed this change, embracing the hope that perhaps compassion could prevail even in moments of deep misunderstanding. Feeling the weight of his earlier accusations and the support surrounding Jack, Mr. Thompson stepped forward, his heart heavy with regret. He looked directly at Jack, taking a deep breath to steady himself. "I owe you an apology," he began, his voice sincere and shaky. "I misjudged you based solely on your appearance, and I am truly sorry for the pain I caused you today." Jack's expression softened as he absorbed Mr. Thompson's words. The crowd around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting for Jack's response. "Thank you," Jack replied quietly, his voice filled with a mix of relief and lingering vulnerability. "I appreciate your apology." Mr. Thompson continued, his tone earnest. "You've sacrificed so much for our country, and I failed to recognize that in you. It was wrong of me to jump to conclusions without understanding your story." He gestured toward the customers who had supported Jack, feeling a sense of unity in the moment. "I would like to offer you assistance, perhaps some food or anything else you might need. You don't have to face this alone." The crowd erupted in supportive murmurs, their hearts warming at this display of humility and kindness from their manager. Jack nodded appreciatively, grateful for the gesture. As he glanced around at the faces of those who had come to his aid, he felt a renewed sense of hope. In that moment, Mr. Thompson reflected on the lesson learned: true character is revealed not by outward appearances but by the stories we carry within us. He vowed to approach each person with an open heart in the future, understanding that everyone has their struggles and deserves compassion. This resolution marked not just an apology but a commitment to change, a step towards building a more understanding community for all. As the dust settled after the emotional confrontation, a profound change lingered in the air of the convenience store. Mr. Thompson stood at the counter, transformed not just by his apology but by the insight he gained from the experience. He realized that true leadership involved not just authority but also empathy and understanding. No longer would he let snap judgments shape his interactions. Instead, he would prioritize compassion, remembering that everyone has their struggles hidden beneath the surface. The customers who had gathered around Jack also felt this shift. They had witnessed the power of community support and the impact of taking a stand against injustice. Sarah, the young mother who had initially spoken up for Jack, felt a renewed sense of purpose. She understood that standing up for others could weave tighter bonds within her community and inspire others to be vigilant against prejudice. Jack himself experienced a remarkable transformation. Once burdened by shame and isolation, he now felt empowered by the support of those around him. The kindness shown to him reignited his spirit and reminded him that there are still good-hearted people in the world willing to help others find their way. Together, both Mr. Thompson and Jack recognized that true character is defined not by appearances or readiness to judge, but by an openness to understanding one another's journeys. They learned that acts of kindness resonate beyond a single moment, creating ripples of compassion throughout their lives and community. This experience had sown seeds of hope for all those present, a reminder that, in life's most challenging times, compassion can guide us toward a brighter future.